What's going on, guys? MMA Island team. We are back. We got the fight picks. We got Jim Miller taking on Vinc Pichel. Man, great fight. Obviously, really happy to see Jim Miller fight again, but I will pass it on to Zach to start it off.
This fight is really weird. This fight is really weird, and it's the featured prelim on this fight card. It just makes it even stranger for me. But enough with that. Let's talk about the fighters. Vinc Pichel. I'm just going to call him Vinc. I don't know. I've heard people call him Vince, but I'm just going to say Vinc for the hell of it. Anyway, he is an enigma. He rarely fights, and especially like his first fight, he came into the UFC in 2012, 2 fights in 2014, then goes into 2017, 2 fights 2018, and we haven't seen him in over a year at this point, where he took on Roosevelt Roberts, and he beat him pretty badly. Now you're thinking, wait a second, Jim Miller also beat Roosevelt Roberts, but he finished him. I'm going to say this. That finish was a little lucky. If Roosevelt Roberts doesn't throw that dumb spinning kick and he doesn't slip, then I believe he wins that fight 8 or 9 times out of 10. But we just saw the other one. Anyways, I'm not going to get into that too much. Jim Miller has won 4 out of his last 6. How weird is that? Everyone talks about Jim Miller as this guy who's over the hill. Like he's shot, he shouldn't be fighting, but here he is. He's actually fighting really well. Won 3 out of his last 4 and 4 out of his last 6. But you look at some of those names outside of Roosevelt Roberts, you got Clay Guida, who definitely shot more than Jim Miller, and Jason Gonzalez and Alex White. Not too good there. And we know what Jim Miller does best. His submission game. But the one thing that he might have is Vinc Pichel's takedown defense is not good. It is really bad. So I don't know. But on the feet, Vinc Pichel, better 100%. And Jim Miller's chin is not there. And the thing about Jim Miller is that he leaves it pretty much in the first round. These days, he knows what he has to do. Like the best example of this, you go look at your Scott Holtzman fight. At the fight, he goes out and he's throwing bombs in the first at Scott Holtzman, and he lands a couple of them. But after that first round, it starts to get really dicey. He starts to gas out quickly. And Vinc Pichel, he does not gas. He does not gas at all. So if this fight goes out of the first round, and the only way that Jim Miller can win this fight in the first round is by a submission, he's not knocking out Pichel. I have to say Pichel wins this fight because I believe that this fight is going to get out of the first. I think Pichel's a little bit too careful on the ground to get submitted by Miller in the first round, and I think he's going to keep it standing where he can withstand the barrage. If this fight goes past 1, it's Pichel all day. But you never know with Jim Miller. He's proven me wrong before. I mean, as proven with that Roosevelt Roberts fight. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm going to say Pichel by decision.
Well, yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I went against Jim Miller with the Roosevelt Roberts fight, as I assume a lot of people did. And man, I can't believe you're disregarding Jim Miller's win over Roosevelt Roberts. I think Roosevelt Roberts is a beast, as I'm sure you do as well.
Oh, yeah.
And just being able to submit the guy, and not only like they were fighting, he was fighting for that armbar to get it from guard too, with Roosevelt Roberts trying to slip out of it. That was such a great that's why I love MMA, because like it's times like that. I know people love those stand-up wars. I'm getting a little off topic, I know, but seeing that ground game, man, where they're fighting for submissions and you're just like, oh, I don't know if he's gonna get it. And that was one of those moments, because I obviously had Roosevelt Roberts, but I love Jim Miller. I can't pick against him here. Obviously, we know Vinc from Hell Pichel has what's it called? He's got two finished losses. Once against Gregor Gillespie, arm triangle back in 2018, and then before that in the Ultimate Fighter finale, Hobby Love beat him. So I'm going with Jim Miller on this one, man. You look at the people who he's lost to. Holtzman, obviously, Holtzman's is good, but we just saw him get one of KO'd of the year, maybe. Obviously, people are talking about Garbrandt, totally different conversation. But Holtzman got knocked out. That's not taking away that. Holtzman is a good fighter, and he beat him by decision. Charles Oliveira, one of the top in the lightweight division right now. Dan Hooker, one of the top of the lightweight division right now. Francisco Trinaldo. Hey, man, everybody's been beat by Francisco Trinaldo pretty well at this point. Anthony Pettis, also way back in Anthony Pettis' prime in the UFC. Dustin Poirier. Diego Sanchez back in his prime, Michael Chiesa in his prime, Beneil Dariush, Donald Cowboy Cerrone in his prime.
Chiesa's in his prime now.
Oh yeah, no, in the welterweight division, man, that's a whole different story. I love Chiesa. And then Diaz in his prime, Henderson in his prime, Maynard in his prime. Man, Jim Miller has had some tough goes. You look at the 14 losses and you think, hey, geez, I don't know about that. I really do like Jim Miller in this one. I think you're right when you say that well, I don't think you're right. I know you're right when you say Pichel has the advantage striking wise. He's got the height advantage. He obviously has more KOs in less fights. And just obviously from seeing the strikes, Pichel's got the striking advantage. There's no way around that. But from what I see Jim Miller doesn't back down to these strikers, never really has, and has been a submission specialist. And if you're a submission specialist to the degree of Jim Miller, you got to be a takedown specialist. And talking about Pichel passing it on to his takedown defense, 22%. 22% ain't going to do it here. I got Jim Miller on this one, and this is a pretty high confidence. I'm not going to say it's a lock because, as we mentioned, there is that huge striking differential. But if you're passing this one to the ground, you got to take Jim Miller, one of the greatest submission specialists in the UFC, in my opinion. I love Jim Miller, man. I got him on this one. I just think he's going to be able to take this one to the ground and not even just keep it there, as I always mention, but I think he gets submission here. Taking on Roosevelt Roberts, man, that's a really tough battle. Obviously, I know Pichel fought Roosevelt Roberts as well and kind of pieced him up. This is really to see who the better of Roosevelt Roberts' losses are, because obviously the two losses, both of them coming by this. Pichel was able to beat him by decision. Miller got the submission. Obviously, I'm not saying that plays into too much because, as we know, throughout MMA, that doesn't really mean much. But I'll take Miller on this one. I just think that ground game is just unreal, and I don't think he's past his stay in the UFC. I really do think that there is more for Jim Miller here, and I do want to see him have some more competition because, as we know about the older fighters, and I wouldn't say Jim Miller is on that list as of yet, but he is an older fighter. I wouldn't really say that submissions don't really go anywhere, as we've seen from older fighters throughout the UFC. We've seen older fighters have that submission game and always have that sort of problem, that sort of threat aspect, as we saw with the last fight. Obviously, I know he got knocked out, but Alexei Oleinik and Derek Lewis. Alexei Oleinik with that scarf hold in the first round, man, that as a person who picked Derek Lewis with pretty high confidence, I was like, geez, for every second of that first round. So I'll take Jim Miller in this one. I'll take him by first round submission. I'm so hyped to see this fight because we don't really know. There's two huge differentials in their sort of aspects fighting. Jim Miller's got the huge ground game advantage. Pichel's got the huge striking advantage. I want to know who you guys are going with on this one because we got a tie 1-1. I'll take Miller. He'll take Pichel. I'm so hyped to see this fight, as you guys can tell. So make sure you guys are commenting and letting us know what you guys got, showing your love on the videos, and checking out the other Fight Pick videos. We really do appreciate it, you guys.